You have an exam tomorrow and you've barely studied for it and you're panicking already. You shouldn't be panicking. Though what you do is not good. You should have reviewed your materials in this semester. But what can we do now? We are here. I've been in that position before where I didn't review my materials during semester, and the night before the exam, I had to do the heavy lifting the night before the exam. I had to read my materials the night before the exam and make sure I pass the exam because I cannot afford to fail. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing tips on how you can maximize your study time before your exam, even if your exam is in 24 hours. I don't advise you use this often, but it is what it is. Hey guys, if you are new to the channel, my name is Samuel and I'm a first class student of the Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering. Welcome to the video. Let's dive in. First, I'll be starting with things you should not do. Number one, do not, on any circumstance, do not try and view all the topics in your material. Do not. You're wasting your time. What you should do instead is that you should assess those materials, right? Assess those topics and prioritize them based on your strengths and weaknesses. That's what you should do. Do not, on any circumstance. I repeat, I'm laying emphasis on this because you don't have time. Do not review all the topics in your material. Instead, assess them and prioritize. I'll discuss more on that later, but I want to share with you the don'ts of this fire brigade technique. Number two, under no circumstance should you ignore past questions. Past questions are your friend. And also, you don't have time. You don't have time. You have to make sure that you maximize the time that you have. It isn't time to be on your phone. It is not time to be typing messages. It's not time to be checking what's going on the internet. 24 hours and your exam is here. Can you see that you don't have time? So you should focus. And last but not least, make sure you try and recall as you are cramming. Make sure you recall as you are cramming. In my last video, I shared tips on how you can incorporate active recall and speed repetition into your study routine. So after this video, you can go and watch that to understand more about what I'm saying. But make sure you recall as you are cramming, because if you are just cramming and you're not doing the recall, you are just like putting it on your head and you don't even know if it is slipping through the other side. You understand? So you have to make sure it's actually staying, at least for the duration of your exam. It has to stay, so that you will not fail the exam. So now I'll be telling you guys what you should do instead when you are trying to cram for an exam that is in 24 hours. We know it's not ideal, but there are some things we can do to make our study more effective and to make sure we ace that exam, right? And number one is to assess the topics in that material. If you are like me, coming from an engineering major, the ways our materials are segmented, they are segmented based on topics. Probably in a semester we do about eight topics or thereabout. So you can assess those topics one by one. So after assessing them, you try and check if those topics are your strengths or they are your weaknesses. You check them one by one, one after the other. Strength, weakness, strength, weakness, strength, weakness. So based on that, you prioritize them. Anything you think you know that you're strong in, probably you during the semester, you just happen to understand when the lecturer was teaching, or you knew before, they are to be the last thing on your priority list, right? And also, while you're doing that, you pick your past questions, right? And you review your past questions. Then what you are doing when you review your past questions is that you are trying to like check for the topics that would most likely be asked during the exam. You're trying to check for those topics. So you review your past questions one by one. So while you're reviewing your past questions, make sure you review the topics that are heavily quizzed, the topics that are heavily asked for in the exam. Make sure you note them. And make sure you know the topics that are least quizzed or the topics that are least asked for in the exam. This will give you an insight as to what the examiner deems as priority. So after you've done that, your two lists side by side, the list of topics you are strong in and topics you are weak in, and the list of topics that are heavily asked and topics that are least asked. You look at them side by side, then you prioritize the topics that you should attend to. And how do you arrange your priority list? So the first on your priority list would be the topic that you are weak in and the topic that is heavily quizzed. You are weak in it and it's heavily quizzed. That's priority one. Priority two, the topic that you are weak in and is likely quizzed, right? It's likely asked in the exam. Priority two. Priority three, the topic that you are strong in and is strongly quizzed in the exam. That's priority three. The topic you are strong in and is strongly quizzed in the exam. Priority three. Then priority four, the topic you are strong in and is likely quizzed or likely tested in the exam. So that's how you arrange your priority list. So you start from the top of the list, then you come down. Sure, you understand? So that would help you not to waste time on things you already know. And that would help you to also focus on things the examiner prioritizes. Because you're in a race against time, you cannot review your own material. You don't have the time. You want to review 6 months in 6 hours. Very fun. So number two, while you're trying to read those topics, you need to know the basics first, as they will help you further understand. They will help you understand why you're reading. Because one mistake I think I made during my time in school was that I just tried to like read on and not understand the key idea behind the topic. So first of all, if you try and spend 5 minutes to 10 minutes to understand the key idea behind the topic, to understand what the topic is trying to address, you find out that it is easier for you to understand while you are reading. So you should make sure you cover the basics. What is this topic about? What are the key definitions in this topic? What's problem, or what exactly is this topic driving at? So if you do that, you're on track to passing your exam. I'm rooting for you. The next tip, I said earlier, do not ignore past questions. Now, the next tip is that you solve past questions aggressively. Solve past questions aggressively. Stay on past questions. They are your friend. At this point in your life, past questions are your friend. You have no other friend. So you have to solve them aggressively. 3 to 4 years past questions, get them from your seniors. 3 to 4 years past questions is enough. Solve them aggressively. You should solve past questions back to 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 back. And most likely, sometimes, if you are lucky, past questions might be recycled for you during your sets or during your exams. Okay, so one quick advice I would give is that while you're on your past questions, make sure you write out the answers to those past questions. Write them out so you can see them. Because like I said earlier, I don't know why I'm emphasizing this, but you have no other friend than past questions. They are your friend. They are the ones that can save you in this situation that you're putting yourself in. So now you have how many hours to your exam? Let's say 6 hours. What should you do next? Use active recall to try and recall the necessary information back from your brain, what you are learning. Try and use active recall to check if these things are sticking. We are doing a fire brigade approach. So most times you get lost in consuming and you find out that you pay less attention to retaining the information. You should focus on retention, right? Don't just focus on consuming, focus on retention. So active recall will help you do that. Like I said earlier, I did a video recently about active recall and spaced repetition. Now you can incorporate them, right? But what I was talking about there was over a semester span. But if you want to incorporate active recall into a short study session, probably after 30 minutes of reviewing some sets of questions, your past question, or reading a topic you are not too strong in, right? After 30 minutes, quickly go back to that topic again and use 10 minutes, allocate 10 minutes to try and see if you still remember things you said you read in that topic. So when you do that, you are making sure the information sticks in your head. 6 hours to your exam, what should you do again? At this point, you've done a lot of reading, you've done a lot of trying to put information in your head. Now it's time to call your friend, sit down and discuss. Discuss the topic, brainstorm, ask yourself questions. Just discuss what you know about the topic generally. I think myself and my friends, while we were in school, we did that a lot. Before every exam, we brainstorm. There you find out that there are terms, there are terminologies, there are formulas that you might have never heard of before because you did not read throughout the semester, and probably your friend did, that you might have never heard of before. Or there are things the lecturer said in the exam or that you didn't hear of before, that by virtue of that conversation, you are hearing of them for the first time. And they would help you because you can now go back and check and try and read those things. 6 hours to your exam, what should you do next? I was saying earlier, don't get lost in trying to focus on topics you are strong in already. You're wasting your time. What this is doing is that it is massaging your ego. It's making you feel happy that at least you know something in the course. Meanwhile, there are about 80% content in the course that you do not know. So don't focus on it, right? What you are doing, let me give you an illustration to what you are doing. Imagine a car that needs servicing. Probably the car broke down, it needs servicing. It's not moving well, but during the service, the first thing you decide to prioritize is repainting the car. Aesthetically, the car will look good, but it won't go anywhere. That's what you are doing. You are making yourself look good aesthetically. You are bragging to your friends that at least you know our topic. And when they ask you about other topic, you will dodge. Don't be like that. Don't be like that. Be functional. Focus on your engine first. Move. 6 hours to your exam. What should you do again? Okay, I would give you friendly advice. Be calm. Don't panic. I know you should panic, right? I know you should actually panic about what's going on because I know serious students like me, like I used to be. But what can you do? What can we do? You can't still afford to fail. So you shouldn't panic, right? Do not panic. Because when you panic, at the end of the day, you might forget what you are trying to put on your head using the fire brigade approach. And last but not least, pray to God and say, God, please help me. Help me. And after that, continue doing what I told you to do. If you still have time, do it over and over and over and over again. And at the end of the day, walk into the exam and crush the exam. You've got this. So after all being said and done, I would advise you to stop this. Fire brigade approach is not your friend. But what can I do? I'm in a position to give that advice because I'm also guilty of this. I'm also very, very guilty of this. So what should you do? Still try and review your material from the beginning of the semester. Try to review them one step at a time. Try at least 1 hour a day. I don't know how it works for you, but try and review your materials from the beginning of the semester. And one way or one technique or techniques that would help you do this are techniques I've spoken about in my last video, which aims at helping you incorporate active recall and spaced repetition into your study regimen. So if you're interested in that, you can check this video for that. Otherwise, we see you next time. Peace.